Hello, welcome to my bookshelf, and today I'm super excited to share with you all my thoughts and feelings on Unsweetened by Jodie Sweetin. This was a fantastic book. I didn't know what to expect when I picked it up. If you're not aware, this is a memoir, and Jodie Sweetin is best known as her role of Stephanie Tanner on Full House, and now Fuller House, and it doesn't really delve that much into her life as an actress. It does kind of start off that way because that's her childhood. Being a child actor, it put a lot of pressure on her, and so a lot of things kind of came from that kind of led her down this path. But this isn't really like a typical memoir. This is more, it's more written like a story. It's telling a very specific story about very specific issues in Jodie's life. This discusses her struggle with alcoholism and drug addiction. And so she gives you the background of her childhood and her acting career because it does help you understand why she ended up where she did. And it does help explain to you her mindset and how it slowly developed as her addiction grew and grew and grew. And I don't know, this was just so... I think the top of the book says it the best. It's painfully honest and unairbrushed, and that really is an excellent way to describe this book. She's not afraid to be vulnerable and to tell us all the downs that she had in her life, all the horrible moments that her addiction led her to do, and the person that she became because of it. But I like this book because it's very insightful, and it has an excellent message throughout because thankfully, she's on the road to sobriety right now. I also like just the fact that she's so honest about the fact that this is a daily struggle for her. It's not like a switch flipped and now she never has to deal with any kind of struggle whatsoever. Every single day is a struggle with her addiction. She knows that she can't just have one drink anymore. She knows that she can't let alcohol or drugs in her life whatsoever because she is unable to control herself. As soon as she has one drink, she has to have more. She can't control herself that way. So she has to do almost the harder thing and completely cut it out of her life. And another wonderful thing about this book is it really helps you understand how she got to where she is and how important her daughter is to her recovery and her insistence to stay sober. Again, it's a struggle for her, and she has her relapses, but she's really dedicated to her daughter, and that comes through so prominently throughout this book, how important her daughter is to her, and how that is a super big motivation for her to continue this hard journey of staying sober. Honestly, there isn't a whole lot to say about this book other than it's just so good, and I recommend this to anyone, especially if you know someone who has ever dealt with alcoholism or drug addiction. It really helps you get into the mindset of someone who's dealt with this, because sometimes, me personally, I don't have any direct experience with this, so I don't fully understand before I read this book, how you can let yourself get to that point. Like, what is it like for someone who struggles with this day in and day out, and how they let themselves just become so consumed with drugs and alcohol. This was so eye-opening to me, and I just think that more people need to read it. I just thought it was so well done, and again, it was brutally honest. The courage that she has to actually open up about this and to just let it all out is just amazing, and I commend her for it. I like all the insights that she talks about throughout this book. I like her persistence, at the end that, she's willing to, she's now finally in a place where she truly wants to be sober. Because for a lot of her time in those rehab facilities, she didn't honestly want to change. And the first step is kind of admitting that you have a problem and that you want it to be different, like truly, truly want it to change. And I think that the best way to understand this book and to figure out what this book is about and what Jodie is trying to share with us is to read from the preface. So to kind of let Jodie speak to you, to kind of let her explain the book. I'm going to read that to you a little bit, so let's enjoy. Before you dive into this book, before you read about my life, before you judge me from the stories you may have already heard, there are a few things you should know. First and foremost, I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. By recovering, I mean that I battle with my disease every single day. I am constantly going to meetings, talking with sober friends, and doing whatever it takes to stay sober. As of the day I turned in this manuscript, April 1st, 2009, I am 114 days sober. If you do the math in your head, then yes, I relapsed since I started writing this book sober in October. I was on location for a movie and I drank. You'll read all about it. I mention it now so you can understand where I'm coming from while you read this book. I'm not an 80-year-old woman reflecting on my life and sharing stories from decades ago. I'm telling you the story of what brought me to where I am now, right now, today. I can't go out and have one drink. That's one of the hardest things for me to be able to say. When friends want to go to dinner and get drinks, I turn them down. The minute I take that first sip, I need the whole bottle, so I stay away. I hang out with people who are sober and have been for years. Staying sober is what is important to me. That's all that matters. Part of my recovery is sitting down, looking at your character defects, the destructive things that you do over and over again, and resolving to change them. As I've written down all my experiences, I've had the chance to really look at everything and to ask myself, how can I change? I know that I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. While this is a book about recovery, I am by no means an expert in sobriety. When I speak at colleges, I always say, I'm not here to tell you not to do drugs or not to drink. That is not my purpose at those speeches or now with this book. I know from experience that being told not to do something is not going to do a damn bit of good. It doesn't do any good when you're told by your family, let alone some actress. This is the story of my life, what I went through and where I am now. This is what happened to me and how I felt about it. Maybe it will make you reflect on some of your own decisions and maybe it won't. Either way, it's not by any means a guide on how to get your life together. I hope you can read this and have a little understanding and empathy for what people in my situation go through. So as you can tell, Jodie has a lot to say in this book, but she's by no means preaching to anyone, and she's just kind of sharing her story and hoping that people can glean some good things from it. And I definitely did, and I felt her honesty throughout, and I just think that this is an excellent book for anyone who has ever dealt with alcoholism or drug addiction or knows someone who is going through that. And I just think it's a really excellent way to kind of understand the mindset of someone who's dealing with this and what it's like to be living that lifestyle and to have drugs and alcohol consume every single moment of your being. It becomes a big obsession in your life, and that's really the most important thing to a lot of addicts is their next fix and to just like maintain their high and to never really like deal with reality because reality is a scary place. And I don't know, this book is just so good and I highly recommend it. Okay, so that was my review of Unsweetened. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope that some of you will pick up this book. And until next time.